You did a campaign with Virgin, and you landed Santa Claus on a Virgin plane.
Yeah.
While it was in the air.
While it was in the air, so we had, so we worked with Virgin, and we were working on doing a live cinematic experience in flight, and it kind of transformed into getting Santa Claus to land on a flight. So we shot Santa, and he looked down. In fact, the production guy is just over there. Hello, Tom Hall. We shot Santa looking over a piece of glass, moving snow away, and then we projected that on the ceilings of the plane. And it felt like Santa was actually landing his sleigh on top of the plane, walking back along, looking in at people, and then we had an actor come in and give out presents. And it was all around how people, we tweaked the design of the flight itself and how people interact with technology and coping with travel. So that was it. Yeah, no, but we still do we come up with crazy ideas.
Okay, with that, over to you.
Thank you. Well, I'll just invite everyone from the panel up, and then we'll go through everyone. So the panel, please come up. We've got a lot of seats here. Where's the other? Here they are. Here they're coming from this. They're coming from both sides.
Everywhere.
Guys, take a seat wherever you feel you can squeeze in.
Here, I'm going to hop right in the middle.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Good. So I'm moderating this panel. I wasn't supposed to be. Apparently Neil was going to do this. We messed up. Unfortunately, I have to fly tomorrow to Antwerp. I don't normally go to Belgium. And at this rather interesting time of Belgium, I'm having to go because I'm judging the Eurobest Innovation Awards. There's been some great work. And then unfortunately Neil can do it. So I'm moderating today on the future of advertising, which is perfect because that's what I do anyway. But I haven't got your bios. So what I'm going to do is just allow you to talk about each of yourselves for like just 30 seconds, just to let us know who you are and what you do.
30 seconds. Okay. Hi, I'm Dan Crester. I'm Director of Partnerships at Exterior Media, which is an out-of-home business, maybe not necessarily the most future-looking business you might think. But I'm here because I think fundamentally the future of our business revolves around partnerships. So that's probably what I'm going to be nattering about at some point today.
Good.
Hi. I think, just landing Santa out of plane is pretty much out of home. So
I'll take
it can
that.
be,
I'll take that.
yeah,
We can squeeze it into whatever can.
it can be innovating. I'm Zach Zigdan. I'm Managing Director of International Markets and co-founder with Innovate. Innovate is a technology platform for advertisers to create, deliver, and measure video experiences across any screen and any media asset out there.
I'm Gretchen Tibbetts, COO of Little Things, probably the biggest brand and publisher you've never heard of, one of the fastest growing digital sites in the US. We have over 50 million monthly uniques, and we cover only positive, uplifting, and engaging stories, which I think, as you mentioned, your travels, is something we all need more of right now.
Absolutely. Keep people excited.
Exactly.
Hi, I'm Freddie Friedman. I'm Chief Product Officer for Glispa, which is a technology-based advertising company. We work both with brands and publishers to deliver results for whatever business goals they have, based on product innovation, lots of cool technology stuff as you guys are doing, so yeah.
Fabulous. So I just want to get a sense of who is in the audience. So if you work for a creative advertising agency, put your hands up. Interesting. If you work for a media agency, please put your hand up. One person, or two people. Wow, interesting. And if you work for a client on the marketing side, if you're a marketing CMO or of related in that category, please put your hand up. Interesting. Okay, and the rest of you, well, hopefully you'll be interested in this. Okay, so I thought we'd start off with a broad question around advertising. Advertising at the moment is getting stick, right? We always seem to be like the estate agents of the marketing business, right? We've got it bad for so long. And I travel quite a bit and I talk a lot about advertising. And recently I was like, what does advertising actually mean, right? What does the actual word mean? And in Latin, it actually means to turn to. So we think of advertising as campaigns, right, as these assets that brands create. But the Latin is to turn to. So it's actually something that creates your attention, that makes you turn towards it and give it your attention. And I thought that was rather interesting because advertising is then anything that can grab your attention. So based on the fact that we've got a number of you from different areas, from product, from out of home, from publishing, etc., from video tech, what would your current definition of advertising, and I'm going to slow down here, so I'm going to give you 10 seconds. What would your current definition of advertising be?
Can we start from here?
You can, yes. Whoever's got it in their head, first of all,
Just
go.
to spread things around,
Go.
Just to make things a bit more shiny.
Yeah.
Advertising, as opposed to what in the older industry was about approaching in mass media and trying to get some response, as we see it in the new age of digital mobile advertising, is an ongoing, never-ending engagement relationship with consumers. It means that it's not just about getting somebody to install an app or trying to see some ad and click it or do something like that. It's about lifetime value. It's about engagement. It's about getting people to enjoy that product or service again and again and trying new, innovative, sometimes crazy, foolish, funny ways how to get people involved and engaged. And it's a ongoing battle which never ends and needs to be on our toes to get these consumers engaged. And I think this is the main differentiator between just having a hit-and-go campaign rather than an ongoing relationship. And we believe that most of the brands and the agencies we work with actually appreciate the fact we're looking for these consumers which are more into the engagement rather than just the hit and run, because eventually if we're looking at ROI, it's ARPU, it's user retention, it's all about getting into this kind of stickiness, about getting together with the consumers, understanding what they want, what they need, what they appreciate, and then taking it from there.
Good.
And just to add on to that, in my world as a publisher, there's really two kinds. I'll call it the traditional, whether it's banner ads or programmatic. It's just generic, it's the mass reach. And then as panelists earlier talked about, when you have branded, sponsored, native, whichever buzzword you want to use with it, if it's authentic to your voice and it resonates with the audience, that's the best way to go. So we've had some great success with stuff that we've shot in our office that feels like it's coming from the editors, because it is coming from the editors, but it integrates the brand into it. And that's, I think, very much where the future is going. But again, it has to be authentic and transparent.
Yep.
Yeah, so as a tech provider, I find that advertising has always been about storytelling and connecting with your audience and making something that they can relate to. And with the technology, sometimes it's just running a little bit, faster than the creativity. And I think advertising is all about, marrying the two in a way that we really leverage the technology out there to create compelling stories and exciting experience for the viewer, in our case, like video. So really providing the value. So it needs to be relevant, it needs to be engaging, it needs to be subtle, not to your face. And that's where I think creative guys needs to leverage the tech out there to create these compelling stories.
I kind of agree with everyone down here, but also the thing that's been coming through there a lot is attention. You talked about attention. Well, we still have the same amount of attention to give as human beings. So good advertising is stuff that captures that attention and doesn't make you feel like you're being advertised to. As someone earlier, outside we're having a chat, they said, look, good advertising doesn't feel like advertising.
Correct.
Which left me in a bit of a quandary, given that my career is in advertising and always has been. But I think it's all about attention and making the most of that attention and making people want to give you their attention in future. So almost an expected donation of attention at some time in future where they don't feel like it's just an interruption or an invasion. So that's good advertising as opposed to advertising per se, I guess.
Good. Interesting. All slightly different. Let's go back and touch on Gretchen's point on native, because everyone's talking native at the moment around the industry. I think it means different things for different people. From my perspective, native comes from the fact of a media such as Twitter or search. The actual means of engaging people becomes the way that they create their advertising. It's not just about adding a disruption in on part of the page that becomes what we traditionally know as advertising. Each of you are in a different part of the business. Gretchen, I'm going to start with you because you touched on it. When we talk about native within publishing, how is that revolutionizing your industry and how is it making it better?
I don't know that it's making it better, but it's making us accountable on a different level.
Right.
And I think I'm probably going to be unpopular for saying this, but having been in the media industry for longer than I want to admit, because that says how old I am, we got lazy as an industry, and we took our readers and our relationship with them very much to granted. And so it became, great, they're giving us money, the advertisers are giving us more money, we'll pump up the rate bases, we'll get as much as we can out of you, and we're not really focused as an industry on content and quality and serving the audience. And then one day we woke up and you've got newspapers dying, magazines struggling, you know, print is dead or is print dead, and a number of digital media innovators, and now you have thousands of publishers. And so it's made us do a better job. So I think when native, whether it's branded, whether it's sponsored, when it's integrated in the content and you've good, high quality content, then your reader is going to continue coming back to your brand because they like the voice. You're talking to, in my case, her, in a way she wants to, and you're relating. So whether it's what we call branded, where it's woven throughout, or sponsored, where it's just brought to you by, if it's good quality content that resonates with her, she's more than happy that somebody paid for it.
Freddie, I want to come to you, because from a product perspective, you can't get more native than the actual product itself, right? The product does a certain job.
Yes, actually, I try to avoid saying native, but thanks, Gretchen, for that, because a big chunk of what we're doing in Lispa is focused on native.
Yep.
Actually, with many briefing sessions we had with clients, we're actually suggesting going native because, well, banners is still a display, a big business, but native in many cases, in most cases, is much more efficient. But native is not just the sake of the creative, because a lot of people say, I have a feed, I have a page, we'll just sort things out that things will look similar to the other stuff and we kind of blend it and people will be tricked into clicking something. We're not going that way. Because the creative side, which is absolutely important, is just one layer, the veneer up top of it. Underneath that, there is targeting. We need to profile the users, we need to understand them, we need to understand what they like, what they don't like, things which will they be more probably accepting for, and then actually whilst targeting is much more focused and the creative assets are there, then of course the overall user experience and the responses and the campaign performance is much higher. So yes, we are mainly heavily focusing on native, with of course a huge focus on video as well, because we believe this is what people like to see, not just still pictures, even if it's an interstitial, but people like the video experience. If it kind of blends into other experiences on that website or on app, that's a good thing. So it's all about the user experience, which blends into, as Gretchen mentioned, what the consumer is actually after. So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so with video, I think I agree. It's a more native format as it is. But I think we need to understand that it's no longer one size fits all, and there's so many ways to consume video. So you need to make sure that you cut the video to the right length when it's on a mobile device, and you know when it's going on TV screen, there's a different way to engage with it. We call it responsive TV design, you know, borrowed from web design. Yeah, so making it relevant, making it, taking the time to think about the experience and the user, and you know, and doing the right adjustments, and doing it in scale, and understanding that eventually your viewers will get this ad or the campaign in different devices and different environments and different contexts. So you'd better allow for the right experience when they consume the campaign ad, basically.
So with native, we're talking on advertising, but not advertising I was talking about earlier, the stuff that is a bit embarrassed to be advertising, but we don't want to use the word advertising. But surely it's about channel-centric creativity or moment-centric creativity, where you're designing with the person in mind who's going to be receiving the message, not the brand who's punting the message out, which is some more burn-back thinking, really, isn't it?
Correct.
From way back when. But really, that's about thinking about the person who's being communicated to and making sure it's relevant to not just the person, but the context, the time, the moment, the environment they're consuming these things. Because I don't want, on the underground, for example, I want a brand to be useful. I want it to make my day a bit better. I don't really want to have a dialogue with that brand across you know, cross track or anything like that. I don't want to read 14 minutes of text, but I'm happy to do that when I'm at home on a one-to-one relationship. I also don't want that on mobile. So it's about honing down to that moment of reception and doing the best you can for that. And it's not new. It's been called advertorial in the past, and sponsorship and brand placement and sponsored brand placement and editorial placement. It's just a new way of expressing something that is less advertising than it maybe used to be.
But still needs to have the same objective of potentially getting something across. So I've just come back. I was just lying on the beach in Dubai on Saturday, and I was just thinking about, everyone moans about the TVC, right? Oh, the TVC is dead, but yet we're getting into content marketing. So when I say content marketing is much more native, is the TVC just the sort of Vine of the content spectrum, right? Because when you have a Vine, and I'm trying to think of an example. So like B&Q did these vines, the 6-second vines of how to bash in a nail using a hammer, right? And you can get that across quite quickly. Mm-hmm. And so as I was lying there, I was like, the TVC is not dead. The TVC is still video, right? But it's chopped up into marketing messages that are squashed together into 30 seconds. But yet we're all talking about content marketing now. So if you take it to the other end of the spectrum, I saw an amazing film for, and now I can't remember the brand. I think it was for Nissan, and it's got Mickey Rourke in it. Has anyone seen this? With Mickey Rourke, he's the flower seller. Has anyone seen this? And he gets in the car with Carl Weathers, you know, the guy from Rocky. The guy from Rocky 2, Rocky 3. Anyway, they go on this adventure. It's like a Tarantino movie. It was a 5-minute video. It was really engaging. But yeah, as they're driving through, they had all these graphics coming up saying amazing suspension. And I was like, really, this is just a 5-minute TVC, right? But because they tell it in a really interesting and engaging way. So this content marketing spectrum, everyone's getting involved in it. All brands are getting involved in it. Is it going to revolutionize what we do, or is it just it's just a new fad? Because will the 5-minute piece of content just become the old 30-second TVC? You oohed then, so I'm going to begin with you.
The old 30-second TVC. Have you not seen John Lewis recently and all the commercials that come out around Christmas? The talk is happening in the social space, but the TV, the ad.
That's the emotional sparkler that drives the discussion.
That's
right.
the starting point of the journey. It's not the end point of the journey.
Correct.
And I think that's what we're seeing. You're seeing the same with branded content, but branded content can exist further into the journey because it's bigger, it can be broader, it can be so many more things. But the shop window so often is a TV ad or any ad of anything that invites you into a journey or a world where people can enjoy a deeper dialogue with you. And you can't always do that in every single medium, but some mediums do it fantastically.
Well, and I think, as we said, you have to be cognizant of where, when, and how the viewer's going to be consuming it.
Absolutely.
So we're 80% video. We're also 80% either on the phone or tablet. Mm-hmm. So we will sometimes, if it's an extraordinary piece of content, go as long as 5 minutes.
Right.
That's the longest. Our normal content is around anywhere between 44 and 120.
Okay.
And that's content.
And you still get good engagement on the 5 minutes? Yeah.
But it's very rare that something will be quality enough that will go that long.
And you know, from Innovid's perspective, like you're trying to make that touch point more engaging, right? Bring that video to life in new and interesting ways.
Absolutely. So you'll find a lot of the 5 minutes content, but this is like second level of engagement.
Yeah.
So what you put in front of your audience is, if it's a big TV screen, it's going to be 30 seconds, and it's a good experience, right? You know, for mobile, it's probably need to be shorter because you don't want to overload the experience, etc. But once the user decide that it's interesting, that's where you need to have all the rest of the content in a way that is like absolutely, if it's interesting, then it's going to be a good experience to the user. So I would say that the TVC, the 30-second spot, is not going away. If at all, it's just getting shorter in terms of what the first experience in front of the viewer. And then from then on, you need to allow for a deeper engagement with the user. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Freddie?
Yeah, just looping in my techie side a bit, just for a sec. There are ways to quantify and measure level of engagement, viewability of videos on website, apps, etc. All these analytic tools are there. So I think it's quite evident that the majority of the content should be restricted because people's span of attention is quite low, especially on mobile. And usually, even if it's 30 seconds, they will just flip through it and see something quick. If they really like it, then 30 seconds would be okay. The 5 minutes, I think these are the unicorns of the videos because they're not that common and people's attention span is quick, and they can't really focus so much on such content. So it really depends. There are some good spots that are worthwhile the 5 minutes, but from what we've seen and quantified, it's really the rare ones, whilst the majority is kind of commonly going into the shorter versions of everything. People as we see it, consumers are after the short, the quick, the punchline should be there after a few seconds. If you take too long, people just flip through it and wait to see what's on there. So, yeah.
Let's change gears. We've got to talk about programmatic, right? So it'd be remiss of me if I didn't. So let's just pose a question. Programmatic is automation of advertising. I guess it provides the mecca of right place, right message, right time, right context. We've talked about storytelling. How is programmatic changing our industry? And how is that affecting the creative message? So for instance, people would normally think outdoor. How the hell is that affecting outdoor? But I guess a lot of outdoor now is digital, so you can programmatize. I just made that word up. I came out with that. You can automate. Thank you. Say that. You can automate out of home in a way that is targeting people in the right space at the right time. So how's that changing the message, and how's it changing your business?
We had a really interesting chat earlier about this, and that is that, yes, you can target people. At home, you can't target individually. You're targeting groups or mass, so you can use people like real-life analytics or Locomizer guys to work out who's near your site at any given time. What you can't always do is change the creative in time to deliver that audience. So I think we're going to have a lag of creative execution behind media execution.
Catching up with
So I think that the buying of that audience and the identifying and the reaching that audience is way down the road at the moment. It can be done. Lots of people are playing around with it. In the out-of-home space, it's more aggregated audiences. But I think the idea of tailored creativity, so moment-centric, channel-centric we're at, but I don't think we're at moment or audience-centric creativity.
Yeah.
Because that could end up with a myriad of different executions.
Absolutely.
And then you end up with the argument behind how much of my overall marketing budget do I dedicate to production over media.
Correct.
And there's a lot of people who are very, very scared to leave some of the old rules behind. I think we're getting there. I'm seeing loads and loads of experiments taking place at the moment. Some of the nastiest production and targeting matrices you've ever seen in your life. But it's going to have an effect. And I think we're very much in a learning stage. Probably a little bit behind you guys, because you can target individually and you've got much more in the way of ROI and metrics around your world at the moment.
With respect to how you're working with delivering creative at the right time in the right space, how have you been thinking about that?
Yeah, so I think programmatic and in general using software to do better advertising is connected with what I mentioned earlier. Like we're running fast and we have so much power in our hands, like to do very innovative stuff. And I think only now, after programmatic is becoming a new normal in our industry, that we really are starting to see the fruits of using technology to deliver a relevant message. So I think what we do at Innovid is basically coming after so there's a programmatic media buy that will give you the right audience. But the right audience is wide. It's not, I mean, you can't really tailor a message buying media programmatically. But you can use the same data to really create versions of the same creative or same campaign that are much more relevant to the audience. So it's another way of basically making the ad relevant. And we can get like examples like, you want to make sure that for an automaker, you're creating like your local dealership version of inside the ad. So this can be done on the fly, and we do such things. So, you get an ad in front of you that's 30 seconds ad, but at the end there's something that relates to you better, right? So you can go and see your local dealer if it's interesting. So we do a lot of it, and every vertical has its own use cases, but definitely it's becoming much more exciting, like combining programmatic buys with programmatic creative, what we call it.
And I guess from a publisher perspective, if you're delivering much more efficiency, you should be able to charge more for that. So how's it been affecting you, Gretchen?
Well, we're playing quite well in the programmatic space because what we bring is an audience that there's not a lot of. So we have huge scale, but we're Gen X and older women. So we don't play in the millennial space.
Right.
But these are your spenders. And they're spending both for the household. They control a much broader network. So if you're thinking of buying something, a lot of times you'll, whether it's the mom or the aunt, or you'll sort of have those group mothers type thing. So that's who our audience is. So we find that the programmatic advertisers are coming to us and going back to the beginning of how you pay attention to your audience. We take fewer ads than a lot of other sites, so it's not a cluttered environment,
Right.
which means your engagement for the ads go up. So we've turned down the short term, we're going to have more ads on the page. For the long term, people are going to come back because we have better engagement with the content and sharing of the content, and then subsequently also with the ads that we get. So programmatic works well for us, and particularly the blend we have with that and the branded.
Cool.
So since Glispa is working both with publishers on supply side and brands on the demand side, then we're actually employing programmatic technologies on both sides of the equation, which is very beneficial for all sides of that equation. And just for the folks who are not very familiar with programmatic, 10 seconds of a quick tutorial. It's programmatic and non-programmatic buying is like comparing between New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. So New York Stock Exchange, you have lots of people picking the phone saying sell and buy. In NASDAQ, it's all computers talking to each other. So that's the main difference between programmatic and non-programmatic. That's my way of depicting it for non-techie people. So is that good? Yes, because actually it brings two main values, transparency and scale. So transparency means that the buyer can realize up to the placement level exactly what they're getting, and from the publisher's side, you can exactly understand for which buyers, for which brands, for which demand partners you're opening your inventory. And then, of course, there's all these kind of derivatives, which is a private exchange and deal IDs, et cetera, which are all kinds of mechanics to allow specific deals between demand side, between brands and publishers, just to create this kind of a mix. So it's a good thing. Does it work anywhere, anytime, any place? The answer is no, because there are some geos, there are some verticals, there are some places in which that programmatic market is not yet that developed. So it can't really happen, although we would strive for making it happen. So it really is being practiced on a case-by-case basis, because if a brand and a client would come and say, here's the budget, let's go programmatic, we'll actually analyze it and see if it makes sense to work programmatically on the specific regions, specific markets, specific target audiences, which the brand is actually paying good media budgets for. So the answer is yes, the market is evolving there. 2, 3, 4, I don't know, 5 years from now, it will be fully programmatic or almost fully programmatic. Until then, we are exploring with caution just to make sure that whatever the campaign brief is, whatever the target of that campaign is, we can successfully deploy it with programmatic or with a mix of programmatic and non-programmatic.
Cool. So last question to you guys. I'll try and open it up to the audience as well. We're talking about that's technology for good. From an advertising perspective, there is technology for bad. The hairball of the advertising industry at the moment, you know what I'm going to say. It's not beta blockers, it's ad blockers. Yeah. Beta blockers are good. We're all on this to some extent. Ad blocking. What are we going to do about it? How is it affecting each of your businesses at the moment? Because that higher end of the audience, that tech-savvy end are deploying it. iOS 9 has it integrated into the platform. We heard from the Connected Audience panel earlier that it's a problem. Advertising is a huge revenue stream for publishers or subscription, but chiefly it's advertising. What's the corollary if people start ad blocking? What does it mean from an outdoor perspective?
I think we can see our revenues go through the roof. That's fantastic.
For you, absolutely. Yeah.
We see a lot of blindfolds on the underground.
I was going to say, exactly.
I think there's a bigger problem or bigger question there, and that is how much people think is being ad-funded in the content world.
Right.
To be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
If you took away all ad-funded content,
Yep.
You'd have no commercial TV.
Yep.
You'd probably have, you have very few magazines. You have little content, full stop.
Right.
The brands that we talk about would only be able to advertise to you. So I think that I think there will become...
Do you think the audience actually realises that, though?
Not now.
They don't, right?
Not yet.
No.
But I think as soon as you see some things disappear from your media landscape that you took for granted, people still think that the BBC is free in the UK. It is not for free. We pay for it.
Correct.
But if we take away that license fee or take away any other form of funding, then that will disappear, and so will lots of things that they hold dear.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a gradual education process for me. It could well work out that we end up with a hugely successful paid-for media world, which could be a great outcome for everyone. So it's not reliant on advertising or or anything like that. But I think the ad blocking thing is a momentary thing, which is basically stop showing crap ads and too many of them.
Yeah.
Stop over inundating everyone with stuff they really don't. Don't have a pair of shoes that follows me around for 3 months even though I bought them. I talked with retargeting. You know, do it with a bit more subtlety and responsibility.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. It doesn't directly affect me
Yeah.
day to day though.
So it might be good for you.
Funny,
as you say.
as a tech provider, again, ad blocking, I see it, a lot from the other side. So
Yeah.
advertiser don't want to be advertising to the wrong audience, so we help them block the ads. So
Yeah,
it's the other way around. No, not only the audience don't want the advertisers, sometimes it's the other way
Yeah,
around.
right.
Yeah, but seriously, I think ad blocking is just, it's like with anything else, there's an evolution. So people, or some advertisers might be abusing the ability to, or the medium, and there are some bad ads, but in general, there are very good experiences, and if we learn to do it well, people will appreciate it. And definitely, just taking away all the ads is not something that the industry can,
We can't
there's
sort
a lot of good value that viewers are getting by having advertisers fund content, good content. So it's like, I heard it in a panel last week. Someone talked about it. The analogy is just, the publisher is using advertising to fund the business, right? So you are a client or a viewer that comes to this shop to get some content, and you decide, not the publisher, not the owner of this experience, you decide to block all the ads.
Yep.
So, it doesn't make sense in a commercial environment that you have the tools to, just skip it. But I think eventually we'll be having tools to make sure that people vote on good ads and make sure that they get ads, but these are like filtered through some sort of crowd.
It's like a shit filter.
Yeah.
You just choose. You choose a good. Gretchen.
Well, publishers need to focus on the user experience.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. For a number of reasons right now, we've been very shielded from ad blocking, but that doesn't mean we're not paying a lot of attention to that being something, particularly in Europe and particularly with the younger and more tech-savvy audience. That's
Yeah,
something
right.
that's in place. And it's incumbent upon the industry to put forward opportunities and educate our users, but also give them a quality user experience.
Glispa is mainly focused on in-app, both for the advertising and the publisher side. So in apps, it's still some way to go until we'll get into
Correct.
these issues. It's more on a website. So on that front, I think we're good. But as a general comment, we keep emphasizing to both our brand and publisher customers about the need for being relevant, being attractive enough, being engaging. And this is something that we keep in mind whilst profiling, targeting, and creating lots of good creative experiences for our customers. So we believe that this is our humble contribution to the industry to avoid alienating customers, of course.
Good. I know we're over time, so if anyone wants to ask a question, we'll be hanging. What? Have we got time to ask a question? I'm asking you. No, we haven't. Yeah, I'm getting that one. We're going to be around, so if you desperately have a burning question, please come and ask. But thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Very insightful. I hope that was a little bit of interesting for you, and we'll be around for lunch. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.